Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Bader Show. This is episode 451. I'm your host, Mark Bader, and we are joined by a great guest today. He was an NCAA champion in 2009, and he was a former head coach at Northern Colorado. Just announced recently the head coach at Army. It is Troy Nickerson. Troy, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mark. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you, see you out in your new house, which I guess is empty. First of all, just tell me, you all moved in. Give me the logistics. Is everything good? Did you lose some stuff in the move? Did you get your piano or whatever?
There's definitely a couple boxes we're still looking for. We moved in a week ago yesterday. So as you can imagine, there's still boxes everywhere. We're kind of working through what that looks like, but just trying to make this move as seamless as possible and, really get to work. We've got school starting in just a couple weeks. So just jumping right in head first.
Yeah, well, that's great. You have great wrestling history, and you got some coaching history behind you now. And I kind of just want to go through each of these places, talk about them, who you worked with, what you learned, and get to where we are. So obviously, we'll start with Cornell, right? You wrestled at Cornell, and then you were I think the Finger Lakes coach, right? That's accurate. But
Yep.
were you guys all in that office together with Rob and Damien, and I don't even remember who all was there at the time, but is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So we were all together. Me and Clint Wattenberg were actually, kind of co-head coaches, I guess you could say, of the Finger Lakes Wrestling Club, and it was a great experience for a lot of different reasons. But just being able to see, Rob and the staff work together and kind of what they did on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I kind of just learned through observation and gave me a good head start into what college coaching was all about.
You go through a program as an athlete, but now you're on the other side at the same program at Cornell. What did you learn about what those guys were doing all day? Or, you're not just seeing them at practice, but like, oh, wow, there's fundraising, there's marketing, there's, growing the program. There's, what things maybe, you're like, wow, I didn't realize that all this went into the program. When you're wrestling, you're just wrestling.
Yeah, to be honest, there wasn't a ton that I feel like was new to me. Um, I was in the office a lot as an athlete, just really just working on myself. But so through that, I got to see a lot of what they did on the day-to-day basis. But I think really just how every piece, the recruiting, the fundraising, the marketing, you know, just all of that, the program building, the practice planning, how it all worked together and, formulated a really solid program. I think just seeing how it all came together was the biggest piece that I got from that time with the Finger Lakes.
Sure. And just sticking with that for with Rob, and there's been so many guys that Clint's obviously gone on and done his thing with the UFC, but so many guys that were in that coaching office, Damian, Spates, Donnie, Vince, I know some of these were after you, Mike Gray, right? They're all like on the head coaches. And I know that Rob said before, he's like, I want these guys to apply. I want, not that I want to get them out of here, I'm sick of them, but I want them to move on and become head coaches one day. Was any of that talk, did you have those conversations with Rob ever about the bigger picture of your coaching career?
We didn't really have them. For me, I felt like what was best for me was to see something else. I felt like, as an athlete and then being on the coaching side for a little bit, I got a pretty good idea of what it took to operate at Cornell, right? And I think for me, in order to grow, it was important to get out and to see something else. And that was really what it was about for me. Obviously, things were being done at a really high level, but I think, you know, even today, I'm looking to pick anybody's brain on what things look like and how I can do things better. So I'm open to new ideas.
Sure. And I'm going to ask you this final question about the next couple programs you're at. But like, when you look back, is there a key moment from coaching? I know you were with the Finger Lakes and not with Cornell, so maybe it's a little different. But still, like, it's your first full-time coaching gig. Can you look back at a moment that's either a memorable, a moment where you learned, maybe a moment where you made a mistake? I don't know, but just like a moment from your coaching career at Finger Lakes that you look back on, you're like, that was memorable and it stands out, and I remember it.
I think the biggest thing that I took away from that experience was probably just the time and dedication that it takes to coach at this level. With the Finger Lakes program, I was in running our, gray shirts, who are community college kids at the time, through 6 a.m. workouts every day. And I was also running 6:30 p.m. practices for the youth, and in between I was just in the office the whole time. So really understanding that, hey, this is more than a full-time job. This is an 80, 90 hour a week job, and everything that it takes to make a wrestling program successful. I think it was great for me in the sense that it really helped instill in me, like, hey, to run a successful program, it's more than an 8 to 5, right? You got to get in there, and you can't be afraid to really grind.
Absolutely. Um, okay, so you moved from Ithaca to Ames, Iowa. Um, same kind of series of questions, right? Like, I guess first of all, like Cornell and Iowa State are just different schools, institutions, right? Um, and therefore, probably the makeup of the teams may be a little different. I'm sure a lot of characteristics are the same, but how would you say those two schools or programs were different?
I mean, the obvious is just obviously at Iowa State, we got to deal with scholarships, which was a whole different thing. I mean, Cornell, obviously, everything is financial aid based. So understanding what that was all about. Again, when I decided that, it was kind of time to move on from Cornell, I had a lot of different opportunities, similar opportunities to Cornell, but also, some smaller schools, some of the Power Four schools, and at the time, I really felt like Iowa State was just the right fit for me. And looking back, hindsight, it was probably the best decision I ever made.
Really? Why was that?
I think it gave me a lot of real world hands-on experience. I had seen kind of how the smaller programs operated, being able to be at a big time athletic school with a real budget and just seeing things done at a really high level. It was important, and also during that time, just being able to see a guy like Kyven Gadson, who is, in my opinion, one of the best room coaches in the country. Seeing how he managed his athletes and really ran a system as far as practice goes. And then, on the flip side of that, it also gave me the opportunity to spend a lot of time on the day-to-day logistical piece with our director of ops and learning that side of things. So I think it was really that experience that, you know, made me ready to be a head coach at 27, which is, when I took over at Northern Colorado.
Do you think you were ready? So I'm guessing you weren't ready to be a head coach once you came to Iowa State. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think I was quite ready yet. I think there's so much that goes into this that um, being able to learn all the different nuances and all the, paperwork and logistical issues that go along with being a head coach, I was not ready leaving Cornell.
What are some of the things? And again, you're like officially on staff at Iowa State, and you weren't. You were the Finger Lakes coach at Cornell. But what are some things you learned at Iowa State that were new to you, and that maybe you've brought with you since then?
I mean, certainly that scholarship piece, right? I mean, being able to manage 9.9 scholarships, being able to work with financial aid and tie those two pieces together. I think there was also, managing a budget, having a lot of resources, dealing a lot with travel, just a lot of that day to day that a lot of people, I think, don't think about when they think about what college coaching is all about. But, donor relations, being able to really dig into the weeds with donors, and especially people that you don't know. I think at Cornell I dealt a little bit with donors, but um, there were people that I had known for a long time, and just developing new relationships and really cultivating those where you're making them feel like they're a part of the program.
Sure. And same thing that I asked last about Cornell or Finger Lakes. Can you think back to a coaching moment, right? Good, bad, indifferent. You learned something, or you had a great success, or maybe it was after a tough loss, whatever it was. Like one moment that stands out when you look back at your time at Iowa State, like, man, that was an impactful moment, whatever it was.
I mean, I think there's a bunch. I think, one was that I can think of is getting a guy like Max Mayfield to the national tournament. I mean, Max was probably not supposed to qualify and wrestle at the national tournament that year, but just being able to work with him and really develop a game plan for his opponents and send him out in the best position possible to get to the tournament, that was a huge coaching moment for me. And then another was, working with a guy like Kyven Gadson. And, Kyven had lost his father. Well, we were at Iowa State together, and that was a similar experience that I went through in college. And just being able to mentor him and the best I could through that, through personal experience, and we got close through that time. And I think that's really you know the piece of coaching that goes a little unnoticed sometimes, is really developing those relationships and understanding that, hey, you're obviously helping these kids become better wrestlers, but you're working through a lot of life problems as well.
That actually, I want to stick on that for a second, because I remember that, not being in the room, as obviously not nearly as intimately as you do, but I remember nationals were in Des Moines. It was 2013. It had happened maybe between conference and nationals, or right before conference, right at the end of the season. And there was just this buzz of momentum behind Kyven from the stands, like, like willing this kid to do well. And he did. And he was kind of a crowd favorite that weekend. But like, what are those conversations like with you and him leading up to that? And, how do you put this not behind you, but just forget about it for a second while you got to go do your job while it's so fresh? And I don't know, what advice do you have? I'm sure I just had 10 questions, but you can, however you want to address that.
Yeah, I think first off, you're, trying to keep a kid under pressure, under the pressures that he's already under, as calm as possible, and helping him deal with, the adversity that's going on in his family. And, just helping him understand that, hey, I mean, if your dad was here, I mean, this is what he would want, right? He would want you to focus on what you can control, being in the moment and going out there and putting it on a show for the fans. And I think Kyven really did an exceptional job of that weekend. And um, there was a real iconic moment, his dad's robe, and we were in the back tunnel, and there's a picture of it that still sits in my office today. And I mean, it's those type of moments that I think about when, hey, what type of impact did you make on a student athlete? And I mean, those are moments you'll never forget.
Yeah, that was awesome. And that I won't forget that the feeling in the arena, and it's like the momentum that the crowd had for him, knowing what he was, on dealing with. And yeah. So that maybe that's the one. You mentioned Kyvan. Oh, you also mentioned a couple other guys. So this job comes open in northern Colorado. As soon as you saw it or found out about it, however you found out, were you like, I'm in, I want it? Or did it take a little time, but should I apply? What do I do here?
Yeah, I saw it open, obviously, and for me, I had to do my research because I wasn't sure if it was a Division I job or not. Obviously they'd been around, but the program was struggling. They really were, and I remember getting, a phone call from Mike Moyer at the time, and him saying like, "Hey, are you interested in this job?" And I told him no. And he came back to me with, "Hey, just hear me out. It's not that bad." Right.
Wow.
And just through conversations with him, with my athletic director, Darren Dunn, there at Northern Colorado, it quickly became feasible for me, where it's like, hey, there's enough resources here where we can have a successful program. And, it was really starting kind of at the bottom, but over time we were able to turn it into something I feel pretty proud about and I feel like was pretty special. So, I mean, I'm really happy for that experience.
Okay. And that was your first time, like, with the keys to the car, and you're driving and everything. Like, when you said yes, I accept, and you get on campus, and when you start to look at the team and the program, what it looks like, and where you want to go, like, what kind of I guess goal is the right word, right? Or where did you want to go, right? To say we're going to compete with Penn State next year, it's not reasonable, right? But to say we want to do this in the conference or have these, what were you pointing towards?
Well, I remember having a conversation with one of our, most faithful alums early on, and he told me, he said, "Hey, like, the cupboards, they're not bare, but they're pretty bare, right?" And just being able to not try to rush at success, I think, well, that was. kind of the goal. I think, as a young head coach, I mean, I still wanted to, kind of make my stamp early and probably made some mistakes early on. But at the end of the day, just trying to be as patient as possible and really build a good foundation that success could be built on.
What were some of those mistakes early on that you mentioned? Trying to go too fast or whatever you said, but you said, I made some mistakes early on.
I think just recruiting maybe not the right individuals for the program. Surrounding the program with people that could see big picture. I, you know, the year before I got to Northern progress rate, and they weren't even allowed to compete in the national tournament. So, like in a sense, like looking back on it, the kind of slow play, the long play was just recruiting just good kids, right? Just good kids that were going to work hard, do the right things, not get in trouble, um, take care of business in the classroom. And then from there, we were able to kind of start really to have more and more success. It was trying to find a good culmination of both.
You definitely had success there. At what point did you feel like, okay, the train's catching on the tracks. We're doing the right thing. We're going the right way. We're not steaming down, right? We're not gonna win the conference tomorrow and have a bunch of national champs. But when did you say, all right, yep, it's right. What I'm trying to do is the ship's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it was right around COVID, to be honest. We had 5 national qualifiers that COVID year, and I felt like our team was in a really, really good spot. And unfortunately, we didn't get to show that at the end of the season because nationals was canceled.
Right.
But it was really that moment forward where I knew that even though, we didn't get to show it, that we were heading in the right direction.
It's hard to believe that was 5 years ago. It was like half your coaching span there. It feels like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
But the same thing as those last two schools. Like, is there a moment, at Northern Colorado, or what are maybe some top moments that stand out? And it can be the top most successful moments, but again, just learning moments, successful moments, maybe tough losses that just like, okay, this needed to happen.
I mean, the obvious is, Andrew Lira's winning a national title,
Yeah.
right? And proving that you can do it at a small school. I mean, he was one of those guys that bought in really early on. And obviously, you can even look at last year where, we have 2 All-Americans and show, hey, it's not just one guy that, anybody can get it done at a school like this. Those are moments I'm proud of. And lastly, I would just add just the relationships, right, that I had built. I was there 11 years and trying to think back on some of those kids that I had that I inherited when I first got to the program and guys that I had recruited kind of in that first recruiting class and the relationships that I've developed with them and seeing them go on to their careers and starting families. Those are lifelong relationships that they're always going to be there. And again, that goes back to that impact of more than just coaching on the mat. It's just, you're more of a life coach.
Heck yeah. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Ward back to Oklahoma State, Army job opens up. You find out about it somehow. Did Mike Murray call you, or how did this one go?
No, he didn't. I heard from Trisha Brandenburg, who is my direct boss here at West Point, pretty early on in the process. And, um, over the past 5 years or so, I mean, there's been different opportunities every year for me. And, I felt like I was in a good place. I felt like Northern Colorado was supporting me at a really high level. It wasn't something that I was looking for the next opportunity. It was really looking for the right opportunity. And for me, West Point was always on that list, that short list. And the more and more I learned throughout the process of what this place is actually about and, where we can have success, I just got more and more excited about it. And, every day, even today, just being just under 2 months in here, I learn more and more every day. And it just excites me because I know this is a place where we can have a lot of success.
What excites you the most about this opportunity, and what makes it different from other schools? Because it is.
Oh gosh. There's so many things that make it special, make it different. I think one of the biggest things that really attracted to me this place was, as a coach, as a, leader, as, just a human. I'm always big on personal development, even with myself, right? And I think being able to surround myself around really quality individuals, that's going to make me a better version of myself, which is going to transition into my cadet athletes as well, right? And making them better. So just being able to surround myself around really high integrity, high class individuals, that was certainly the first thing that really attracted me here.
Okay. Give me the elevator pitch, right? I walk in, I'm this badass recruit, we're going upstairs, but you only have like till we get to the floor to tell me why Army's awesome and why I should be there. What's in it for me now and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think, first off, I mean, obviously we've got a bunch of different majors on post here, but I mean, the biggest thing that we are selling our cadets on is, first and foremost, you're getting a leadership degree from the preeminent leadership institution in the world, right? They are teaching you to be a leader, and I think, a lot of wrestlers, they're looking to be that type of leader, right? I mean, at some point, you don't want to work for the man, you want to be the man, right? And this place sets you up for success in life like no other. I'm amazed by the alumni that I continue to talk to, and the successes they've had, one on the military side, but then on the private side as well, and what they've been able to do in life. And I mean, this is a place where people have passion, and again, I believe it's a place you can reach all of your goals, academically, athletically, and career wise. You're set up for life. And I think when people can see the big picture of what this is, um, they gravitate towards it pretty quickly.
Nice. What's what well, let's go to the coaching, right? Is your staff together or are you in process of putting a staff together? Is Scott still there or how are we going to put all this together?
Yeah, so staff is complete. Again, I'm really thankful to Kevin Ward, to be honest, and I've said it multiple times. He's put this place in a great spot. I think this is probably the best West Point team that they've seen in probably the past 20 years. For me, it's not trying to come in and burn the place to the ground and start from scratch. Clearly, things are working here at a pretty high level right now. For me, it's been a lot of learning and trying to understand, hey, what's going well, what's not, and a big piece of that starts with the coaching staff. And so, Coach Scott Green, Coach Steve Blyce, both stayed around. Jeff Breeze, my director of ops, he stayed around as well. He works with our prep school a lot as well. And then I also brought in Alan Clothier, who wrestled for me at Northern Colorado. Just through conversations with the guys, I feel like our upper weights are really in a great spot right now. And I wanted a big guy that could come in and, really be that hands-on guy, developing them at the highest level. And Alan's actually on his way here right now. So he'll be here tomorrow, I believe. And just excited to get to work with him again and just rekindle that relationship.
Cool. What as far as like this doesn't really matter all that much to the outside, but I'm curious, like your coaching style, right? Some coaches are like, all right, you're in charge of recruiting, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this, and you're in charge of this. And some are like, yo, we're all kind of we mix it up and we all do a little bit of everything, or you take the lightweights and I take the big. What's your coaching style as far as that?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I really want to put people in areas that one they want to be in. I think when you're happy and doing things you enjoy, you're going to be more productive. But also trying to find guys that will complement the rest of the staff, right? There's a lot that needs to get done in a program like this. And again, I mean, we're very fortunate in a sense because not only do I have my coaching staff, right? I have an AI that works with me here he's athletic intern. He's basically a GA. 9 ORs that work with me, which are my officer representatives, which these are career military guys that work here at West Point, and they're here to support me in any way possible. So, in a sense, I feel like I've got a staff of 20. And, just the hardest part for me initially here has honestly been just learning how to delegate again, because with a small staff at a place like Northern Colorado, um, it was kind of, I had to do everything myself in a sense. And now I have this overwhelming support where I can actually focus on what matters. And for me, that is recruiting and fundraising.
Okay, those are extremely important. Um, as far as what are do you set like concrete goals? We want to qualify this many. We want to play this hot place this high at a conference, and et cetera. Or is it like we want to get better? And how do you set goals, and or how do you measure? Will you measure success?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you focus more on the process, the results will come, right? We actually just had this conversation last night in our team group chat. This place is unique in a sense where even though I've been here for 8 weeks already, I have not gotten to meet in person all of my cadets yet, right? These guys have been all over the world this summer doing different leadership details. Our incoming freshmen are in Beast, which is basic training right now. So just being able to have those conversations virtually and just get to know these kids as well as I can has been critical. And for me, with the goal setting piece, I'm trying to take it slow. I want to focus on that big picture of just making sure we're improving. And I think after a year, I'll probably have a better idea of what those goals might look like. But for now, it's just, focusing more on the process.
Okay. Uh, what kind of kid are you looking for? Who's best suited to come wrestle at Army and West Point?
Yeah, I think for us, it's looking at, obviously you've got to have the academic profile to be able to get into a place like this. This place is very challenging academically. Our kids are taking a lot of credit hours. They've got the military piece in the summer times that they're very busy with, and then you add the wrestling on top. So first off, we're looking for kids that are disciplined, that are really committed, and just have high moral integrity, right? I think, that's what this place is about. That's what they're teaching them, regardless of the athletic side. And for me, those are the same qualities that it takes to be successful on the wrestling mat. And so, in a sense, this place kind of recruits itself. Where if this is an environment you're looking for, you can find it pretty quickly.
What are some of these like you said they're out during the summer, they're out doing military stuff and traveling. I think you said some guys are overseas, like, and you didn't do it. I'm sure you're kind of clued in. What is that? Where are they going? What are they doing? Are they driving tanks? Are they shooting guns? Are they chasing people? Is it simulations or what? What is this military
Yeah,
stuff?
they absolutely are. So in the summer times, I mean, basically the simplest way to put it, our guys are doing, kind of pseudo internships. And what that helps them do is they are shadowing, these high level military officials where when they look to branch after their senior year, they know where they want to branch. One thing that's special about West Point is we have 17 different branches of the Army, and these guys have a say in where they go and what they do. And during that summertime, they're able to go and shadow these officers and be able to really understand what each branch looks like, and from there, kind of assess where they feel like they'll be the best fit.
If you were in the Army, Troy, I'm going to put this on you. What branch would suit you the best? If you were one of
Oh
these kids.
gosh. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about them all
Sure.
yet myself to really make that judgment.
All right.
But I mean, we've got it all, right? I mean, we've got a lot of guys that just naturally gravitate towards infantry. I think it fits the personality of a
Yeah.
lot of wrestlers. A lot of our guys want to go into special forces. Um, you know, West Point loves wrestlers. At the end of the day, we have more wrestlers that graduate from Ranger School every year than any other sport on post. And I think that's why this place supports wrestling at such a high level is wrestlers make great officers. And, when we're able to continue to do that on a consistent basis, our higher ups, our soup, they want to see wrestling at the highest level.
The world needs more wrestlers. Our military can always use more wrestlers. So appreciate what you're doing there, Coach. The last thing is like, and it is, it's kind of its own different thing. Cornell's an Ivy, that's different. UNC is a small school, that's a little bit different. This is definitely its own different thing. How does, if at all, NIL work into this equation with West Point?
Yeah, so the cheesy answer is we're the original NIL, right? Every one of our kids gets a free education, and they get a stipend while they're here, so every one of our guys does get paid. Um, the nice thing to that is we don't have to deal with these giant personalities and negotiate with our kids. I mean, they know what the deal is up front. And it's on the public side of it. It's an area, honestly, I'm excited to get out of. I think college athletics has become too transactional in a sense.
Sure.
And, we, at the end of the day, these are still leaders, great wrestlers. And, when you can take that stuff out of the equation, I think you can really focus on what matters, which is that developmental piece.
The original NIL. That's not cheesy. I like that. I like that, honestly. And I guess I didn't, every kid goes to school for free and gets a stipend.
Yes, every cadet here, whether a student athlete or not, everybody goes to school for free. Everybody gets a monthly stipend. They have access to our cow loan after their third year, which is basically $30,000 paycheck, which is interest free. This is a place that when you really dig into what it looks like, I mean, it sets these kids up for success pretty early, and again, they've proven it year in, year out. They go out and they are successful in life.
Man, that's awesome. That's super cool. I'd lead with that. You want to go for school for free, get money every month, and then infantry, ranger, whatever. Well, that's great, and we're getting down to the bottom. Just got kind of a couple more things we want to go through, and then we got a little blast from the past. But these are separate from everything we've been talking about. This is just Troy Nickerson, the wrestler. It's the first one I like to call wins and whoopins. So like from your first match at 10 years old, however old you were, till the last match you ever wrestled, one win. It can be your best win or national finals, but it could be a kid you beat in Little League that used to beat you, right? One win that stands out in your memory and always will, and then one just like whooping. Everybody's had their ass whooped once or twice, and one whooping that stands out, and you're just like, yeah, I won't forget that. And again, it could be as a youth, as high school, college, or beyond. One win, one whooping. Either one you want to do first.
You know, for when, well, I'll start with whooping, and we'll kind of translate it this way. So with the whooping, in high school, I think I was maybe a sophomore at the time, and I was pretty good. And I was at a pretty tough tournament, the Jeff Reese Memorial up in New York, and I went up a weight. And in the finals, I ran into a guy named Mike Cease, and he dang near tech faulted me. That was a very humbling experience. Um, Now, fast forward a couple years to my freshman year at the NCAAs. I believe it was probably in the quarterfinals. I got to relive that match with Mike Cease, who wrestled at Bloomsburg, and I actually pinned him. I think it was maybe second period, but that's probably how I'd answer that question. Is he got me in high school, but I kind of got him when it counted.
Okay. Oh, so you're doing both in one answer, the win and the loss.
Yeah.
Been doing this show for 5 years. I never had that. I never had an answer like that, but I love it. That's great. Wow. All right.
You always remember the whoopings more than the victories. The other one I'd give you is just, and this is not a match, but just in the practice room. Um, Travis Lee was probably one of the toughest guys I ever wrestled on a consistent basis. I think when you train with somebody enough, right? There's always, every day has, or every dog has his day, right? Eventually you're going to get him every once in a while. And Travis was probably that one guy that I practice with on a consistent basis that I never beat in a match. I could have thrown him to his back in the first period. He would have clawed his way back and found a way to beat me. I mean, he was just one tough dude.
I wrestled Travis Lee. Didn't go well.
How'd that go?
7-1. He didn't like stomp me, but it wasn't close. Okay. Well, no, got one more, and then a little blast from the past. But this one's just your all-time favorite wrestler. Troy, who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Oh my gosh. Whew, that's hard to say. a guy I grew up watching a lot of, that I really enjoyed watching was Valentin Jordanov from Bulgaria. He was pretty dang special. I'll
Oh,
go with him.
okay. Valentin Jordanov. He uh, he was, yeah. I feel like he was involved in the Foxcatcher deal somehow, but I don't remember how. I think his name came up
He
in the
was.
right.
Word is he might have came up with the fortune.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Okay. This last one, man, I was just Googling because we're gonna do the show, and I came across this picture, and I just got to get some clarity. What is this? Your glamour shots? What's going on here?
Oh, I think that was a senior photo. You don't
Ah,
like it?
I love it. It's great.
look at look at those frosted tips and
Yeah.
everything. I look good.
You got the necklace, you got the chain. This guy's kicking ass. He's loving life. Who knows? 20 years later, he's on a second head coaching gig. So just thought I'd throw that in
The
there.
funny thing with that photo,
Sure.
the funny thing with that photo is, a couple years ago, my Northern Colorado team came back to Binghamton to wrestle Binghamton University, and we trained at my high school. With that photo in it, and my guys found it, and they made sure I knew about it.
Cool. Well, it's made its way on the internet, so it will live in infamy. Well, Troy, that's mostly going to do it, man. I appreciate you coming on here and chatting through kind of your coaching career, where you're at now, and the exciting things you got lined up at Army. I'm going to kind of give you the final word to say anything you want to say, make a joke, give a pitch, say hi.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, Mark. I mean, again, I'm really excited for this next opportunity. This is a special place, and I think we've got some good things that are already in the works, and we're just excited to continue to build this program. So I mean, anybody that out there that's thinking, hey, this might be a good fit for me, reach out, let us know, fill out a questionnaire, and we'll start the process.
Awesome. I just had one more question. Actually, I was going to ask it earlier, and I forgot. And I just thought about it. Navy. The Army Navy thing is
Yes.
crazy. Like, I'm not trying to take personal attacks, but the rivalry, the duel, set up like Army Navy, because that's a big deal, right?
Yeah. So I mean, before I came here, I mean, I thought I had seen rivalries before. In college, you had the Cornell Lehigh, my time at Iowa State. There is no rivalry like Army Navy. This thing is real, and you can tell just being on post here when you see every day 300 signs that say "Be Navy," right? So that is real. We're looking to really amplify that environment and what that match looks like in the future. Obviously, everybody here in the athletic department's trying to get ready for the fall and the Army Navy football game, but we want to create that same type of environment for the wrestling match. And I'm sure Carrie does as well. And I'm just looking forward to being a part of that because, I mean, that's something that's truly is special.
Awesome. Well, I've heard all about it. I hope to make it out to that one time, maybe this year. Who knows? But hey, that's it. The questions are done. I appreciate your time, Troy. Thanks for joining us today. Wish you the best of luck. Awesome, man. All right. Thanks so much, Troy. Have a good one. And that's going to do it for today's show. Yep, you're the man. Troy Nickerson, everybody, head coach at Army West Point. We'll see you next time. Thanks.